Yo, 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 welcome back to the Out of the Box Show. I'm JWall alongside my co-host James Luffy and Rory Luke, and school is out for the summer. Rory just finished up his finals this past week. We had an LSU graduation. Congrats to all of our grads out there. LSU Baseball wins another SEC series, but feels like they lost it. We have a new number 7 for the football team. I think it was the most obvious choice ever, and it makes a lot of sense. LSU basketball is making power move after power move, and we don't know how they're doing it, but they're pulling it off. Right, Rory?
Or we do know how they're doing it.
We know exactly how they're doing it, but we have a packed show for you guys. Cannot wait to get into it. It's also raining during our recording of this episode, so if you hear the thunder, if you hear us get scared, we're not going to acknowledge it. We're just going to keep rolling. But before we get to our awesome topics for this week, we need to give a huge shout out to the Boot Crew Media Network. And now this month, more than ever, we're the featured podcast on the Boot Crew Media website, bootcrewmedia.com. You type it in on Google, you go there, and we are right there. You do not even have to scroll. You can go check out all of our old episodes. And if you've listened to all of ours many, many times, there's plenty of other good podcasts on there. There's so many articles about every which topic that you can think about: food, sports, wrestling, rodeos. It's everywhere. And this summer coming up, we got football season coming up. Lots of football articles that I've been reading about. And obviously Boo Crew focuses on the Saints, but they talk about the NFL as a whole as well. And we got baseball season going on. So make sure to check out bootcrewmedia.com and Boot Crew Media on social media, boot_crew_media. And speaking of baseball, we also want to give a huge shout out to Rally Cap Brewing. They are Baton Rouge's up and coming brewery right off of Segan Lane. I was actually live tweeting on the Out the Box account. Y'all, I want to thank y'all for giving me access to that. But I was live tweeting. Why is that funny?
You're welcome.
I was live tweeting during the baseball game, the LSU Auburn game on Thursday night, and I posted some pictures of the Rally Cap beer that I was drinking, and I would have loved to have some, to be drinking during this episode recording and to show to the camera, but I drank it all over the weekend because it was that good.
I think I'm going to go over there this week.
It's fantastic, dude. I'm telling you.
And pick up a couple of the 4-pack of Tall Boys. That's what they do, huh? It's a 4-pack.
Yes. And they have all different types. Their latest IPA is a San Diego style IPA, and it's called Mud and Don Diego. And they actually, with every beer that they drop that has like some meaning behind the meaning, they give a little description on like how they came up with the name and kind of a background and their inspiration for the beer. It's so cool, and it's especially a good time of year to drink a Rally Cap beer because it is baseball season, and we love baseball at the Out the Box podcast. Make sure to follow Rally Cap Brewing on all social media, and make sure to get on by there because they are constantly dropping new beers, and it is fantastic. All right, ton of new news. I think we'll kind of start with the other stuff. We'll get into LSU baseball weekend recap. Look forward to this weekend, last series at the Box, and we'll kind of get right to it. But like we kind of teased in the intro, LSU basketball right now, at the end of this past season, it was like, how is Will Wade going to reload this team after the drop off, after our starting 5, which we seem to rely on so much, is for the most part leaving. How is he going to bounce back? What does he do? Hits the recruiting trail, hits the transfer portal, and he's killing it.
Okay. Breaking news real quick. They just called the LSU game. LSU won tonight against Louisiana Tech 16-8.
LSU Baseball's perfect midweek game record for 2021 is still intact.
Huge win too. I mean, number 4 team in the nation.
Yeah, definitely a big win this week. Okay, Back to basketball.
All right. Go ahead.
I mean, what were you saying about basketball?
I was saying that Will Wade's pulling power moves.
And you're right. Everybody at the end of the year was like, we're not going to have any scoring next year. Like we have nothing coming back. And then Will Wade just flips the switch. The rules change where you can get the transfers in, and we get Adam Miller, and then we get a recruit from IMG, Efton Reed, who is a 7-foot center. And the recruiting class right now, I think it's like maybe number 5 in the nation.
Yeah, and then you get another big guy, Tari Eason from Cincinnati. He was on the All AAC, American Athletic Conference.
Yeah, I think we have
freshman
three centers coming in,
which is huge because that was a big need last year.
Yes, a huge need.
And then you get, I mean, it hasn't been official yet, but I think I've read that Days is probably going to return.
Yeah, which is going to be big because, I mean, these guys are all coming from different places. Some are transfers, some are freshmen. You know, they don't really know each other that well. And you have a guy like Days who can be that leader from day one and help that team gel faster, because that's a big part of it, right? These guys are going to come in. We're going to be another year with a pretty talented team, but they need to gel fast before you get into SEC play, because that's when it gets serious, and that's when the seeding really takes place.
Yeah, and another thing is, like, this is kind of perfect for Days because he is a guy who needs to play a 4 or a 3, like a 3-4.
Yeah.
In that area. He's not really like a 5 guy. He's not a big rebounder. He's more like a pick and pop kind of guy.
Yeah, it'll free him up.
Yeah, exactly. It'll free him up. Kind of allow him to play that pick and pop, and we still have somebody down low, which will be nice. Really good.
So the Will Wade haters are quieted.
Well, they're not really quieted. They're out of the woodworks, complaining.
They should be out of there for a while, for at least until the end of next season.
Well, I guess the non-LSU Will Wade haters, the LSU Will Wade haters are quiet, as they should be, because Will Wade has done an amazing job, and the non-LSU Will Wade haters are out on the forefront.
They hate us because they ain't us. And you know what? I remember this from last year when we were recording an episode and we were talking about the Stros, and we had our out the box beat reporter over in Houston. We had Matt Dupre come on the show and say that it's always awesome to be the villain. He said, instead of normally you would think it wouldn't be good to be the villain, it's great to be the villain. And this is what we want, right? At LSU, the turnover. When things don't look good, when the recruiting, whenever all your players leave, the one and done, the future is bright again for LSU basketball.
At least, like, you could say that LSU is one of the only transparent basketball programs in the nation. We're not hiding. Everybody else does it, so we do it too. I promise you. And this is like, I'm sure I've said this before, but this is like the insane thing to me is that people genuinely think that LSU is the only team that, or like the teams indicted in that thing are the only teams that pay players.
They're the only one that got caught. So therefore,
you think if LSU is the only team that paid players, why wouldn't everybody just come to LSU?
Yeah, we would be number one every year.
Yeah. Like, if we were the only team that paid players, you're telling me kids would pick like an education for a year over however much money is a strong bleep offer?
I mean, LSU even paid their O-line walk-ons, like, for football. And
they did not.
We had I'm just kidding. Not at least that I know of. We probably wouldn't get you to say. But speaking of football, I think today was I think the least surprising day for LSU football. Number 7. It kind of leaked early on in the day, and it was revealed that Derek Stingley Jr. was going to take the number. I think the only bit of surprise came from the fact that he's been saying for a while now that he didn't want number 7 because he wanted to wear number 24. But it just makes too much sense for them not to do it, right?
Yeah, and I think JWall tweeted the other day that the Thorpe Ward was coming home. So I was like, that means Stingley got 7. That's immediately when I knew. I was like, that's good. The team's fired up about it. I think there was multiple tweets. Like, sure, just for some guys on the defense, like, not saying specifically, but saying like, watch out, like, we're coming next year. And like Stingley getting 7 is big. And hopefully just having that number on his chest, like, makes him a better leader. Cause Stingley Sr. goes on the radio talking about him wanting to improve his leadership as a whole. You know, he's a leader in the DB room, but
and I think this is, and because I kind of had this thought, and some other LSU fans had. Wow, I'm good.
Okay.
Other LSU fans have had the same thought, was that Stingley might opt out. Now, I know his dad has been very against that, and he has been very against that, and they've said it. But Stingley is one of those guys, that those generational talents like Jamar Chase. So it wouldn't be surprising if he considered it, right? But
yeah, he could maybe consider it. But with the year he had last year, he was always coming back to LSU this year, and he's gonna. I mean, he would probably fall out of the top 10 if he didn't come back. And when he balls out this year, he's gonna go in the top 5 and maybe top 3.
Yeah, for sure.
But I was fired up to see that.
Me too. I mean, I'm excited. I'm just excited for football season in general.
And we're staying hot on the recruiting trail. Yeah. Coach O, for the first time, is going to get these guys back in the building. The recruits are coming as of, I think, maybe June 1. Is that right? They're coming. They'll be able to take visits to, like, official visits to the school again. Yeah. And we have a ton of players coming in. And Coach, he's done a pretty damn good job without having any of that, and just 100%. Over Zoom and over phone calls and all that. And now that we get to bring these guys to the new facility, which none of the recruits have seen yet, and you know, a couple trophies have been added in there since the last time we've had recruits in there. So that's good news for football. I'm excited to see how fast we pull some commitments.
I think the most surprising thing out of this whole thing is that they kept my nameplate and I'm behind Derek Stingley on his picture.
I don't think that was surprising at all. I think that was intentional to honor, you know, one of the former LSU greats, along with a future past LSU great like Derek Stingley Jr.
Like, that's definitely me.
It's right there.
That's crazy. I didn't know that. Did you just see that?
Yeah, it might not be Luke though.
What if there was some old camera guy?
There could be another guy with 54 that's L.
Fire that out right now. Did you fire it out already?
Rory, what if there was some old camera guy that, like, was there one that you were boys with that you'd always pose for the pictures and you'd mess with, like, in the locker room or whatever?
No, not at all.
Maybe he snuck it in there. I don't know.
Also, can we talk about this second picture where the light is, like, in his helmet? I don't know if I like this.
Well, those are the new helmets that they're going with this year.
No, I think that
they have headlights.
No, I think that was supposed to be, like, for the picture or whatever, and they put a light in there and it didn't work as well as they wanted.
It doesn't look that good, but
you'd think they would have just thrown that picture out after. But either way, I think the legend in the picture and the number, it's going to be a fantastic season. And, you know, I just kind of thought of this as well. Derek Stingley, 7 goes to pretty much the best player on the team, right? And do y'all know who would wear number 7 if you wore jerseys in the real estate game?
Blaine Loop.
It's Blaine Loop with Keller Williams Realty. We say it every single week. Blaine is the best at what he does. He would be wearing number 7 for the Keller Williams team if they wore jerseys to work. I don't know. They might.
I think you wear 7 on the front, 18 on the back, because he's a leader too. He'll lead you to your home. Right. Or
he plays offense and defense.
Exactly.
He goes out and looks for you a place to live. He goes out and looks for places for you to live after you sell your home, and he'll even find you somewhere to rent. Maybe if you just want to stick around for a little while. But he also wants you to know that interest rates are at an all-time low and the real estate market has never been hotter. At the speeds these homes are selling right now, you need a certified professional. That's Blaine. He'll help you navigate your way to the house of your dreams. He'll be your friend, your neighbor, and your agent. Call or text Blaine Loop at 504-858-0031 for all your housing needs. That's 504-858-0031. Keller Williams is an equal opportunity housing partner. Each office is independently owned and operated.
Wait, question. Did somebody tell you something about that? Because you just read that really slow.
What do you mean?
I mean, that was like the slowest you've ever read that ad read, and I'm just worried that somebody got to your head.
We had a law office call me out of, the legal Zoom, and they said that you need to slow down so people could articulate and hear whatever you have to say.
Good thing we have Rory.
Yeah, and I told him, I said, We have a second-year law school
Third year
graduate.
now.
Well, yeah,
Third.
he was
Get it
second,
right.
just finished his second year, and I hung up the phone. So anyway, LSU baseball went up to Auburn this past weekend. We kind of talked about it in the preview as well. Won the first two games pretty handily. It felt like LSU was in the driver's seat, and we're gonna start with the Thursday night game. LSU ultimately won 8-3. Marso did what he's done pretty much every single outing this year, and Lovey, I just noticed this as well. Like the fact that he is 5-4, you've been saying it. His record is not indicative at all of what the enormity of what he's been able to do for this team this year.
Yeah, and I mean Marso and Labus both, like, when they're out there, they've got to throw 100 pitches. I mean, they have to throw 100 pitches almost every single week. They leave them out there to the last second, and coach doesn't really have a choice. And I mean, it's hurt their ERA and their win-loss a little bit. I mean, the win-loss also affected by the run support, but both those guys incredible all year. Marso, again, another great outing, and it was good to see Edwards come in and finish it out.
I feel like we're at the point in the year where if Marso doesn't pitch well, like I don't even think he can not pitch well. Like I expect him when he gets to the mound to go 7 or 8,
and like he gets no
maybe
national
1 run or 2.
It feels like he's getting no national attention. Nobody really talking about him,
Not at
partially
all.
because of our record. I mean, mainly because of our record as a team. But I mean, this guy's legit, and he's a legit one.
And I think it's also just because there are so many good pitchers who are also top prospects.
That is true.
And Marceau's not a guy with the top prospect stuff.
Yeah.
So that definitely plays into it a little bit. But, I mean, anybody who's seen him pitch all year has seen that he is an amazing college pitcher. And I mean, LSU needs him this year and is going to need him the rest of the year.
Yeah, and I think that like the story of this season has been the bullpen, and we get to the Friday game. LSU ultimately takes the game 9-6. Labus came in, pitched 5 2/3. I know somebody got on me for saying in 2/3 the other day. I don't know. All right, no, I said 5.2. That's how it's listed on LSUsports.net. It's hard. It's hard to podcast. Okay. I don't know how else to say that. I'm sitting here reading stats.
Yeah.
Trying to talk sports. It's hard.
Brain's moving 1,000 miles a minute.
Yeah. I mean,
and Cruz and Morgan really continue to be the heart and soul of our offense. And those two have been so good as freshmen and so important throughout the entire year. It's honestly scary to think about where we would be without those two this year.
It's also kind of scary to think about where they're going to be in 2
years.
Because they're both
and it's scary in a good way.
Neither draft eligible sophomores. So we have 2 more years of Cruz and Morgan, barring, injury, knock on wood.
So, and as we kind of wrap up the series, we could talk about the wins, but at the end of the day on Saturday, when LSU ended up getting walked off, we could start at the beginning of the game and say that Mikael Hilliard came out and him being a veteran on the team, he came out and did exactly what you needed him to do. He's kind of struggled in his later years at LSU, but to come out and pitch like that and keep LSU in a game where on our Sunday game, I know it was on Saturday, but in our third game of a series, we generally just it doesn't feel like we had much of a chance.
Yeah, 100%.
He's been spectacular the last 2 weeks. Really disappointing we couldn't get him a win this weekend. I mean, another great job by him.
100%.
I think he feels more comfortable. We talked about it last week, but I think he feels more comfortable getting the start. Like he has a little bit of room, like a little bit of error room. He doesn't have to be perfect, and he's back locating his pitching, and he's throwing that curveball. I mean, it's 12-6. It's nasty. It's hard to hit, and whenever he's locating, he's extremely effective.
I agree. I mean, it's been a breath of fresh air for sure for our third game. To have somebody like that is definitely what we need, and we're going to need him to keep that upcoming this week.
Yeah, it was extremely disappointing. We couldn't get him any run support at all. I mean, that game was hard to watch, just knowing how well he's pitching, the opportunity that we had that was in front of us, and a couple couple errors on our part, hitting the ball. I mean, just no timely hitting like we talked about every week, but disappointing we couldn't get that last game. That would have been a really big sweep for us, as would have Ole Miss.
There, and y'all are gonna make fun of me, whatever, but I do think of there's a little short poem that I think about. It goes as in some we read in high school, and it's the saddest words of tongue or pen are these: "It might have been." And that seems like the story of LSU's baseball season this year.
We'll do the rest of this podcast.
No, but what did you just know that off the top of your head?
Of all the sad words of tongue or pen, the saddest are these: "It might have been."
Jesus,
I'm serious. I live my life by that, honestly, because there are a lot of might have beens, but seriously, I mean, this year it is these one-run losses that have plagued LSU. You look at the series against, what was it, South Carolina? I mean,
Tennessee, same thing.
Losing 9-1, or we're winning 9-1, and we end up losing 10-9. Like, it's just, if we string together those 3 games, and Luffy talks about this all the time, if you flip our record around and look at it, like, if we would have just won those close games, we'd be in the win column right now, and we wouldn't be having this conversation each week about whether or not we're going to make the SEC tournament or not.
Yeah.
So,
and it seems like when our pitching is there, we can't get those hits, and it seems like when our hits are there, the relief pitching can't hold it out.
100%. Yeah.
It's just a complete opposite.
That. I agree.
So, and
lastly, Jordan Thompson hit that huge home run to give us some insurance this weekend. That was a big at bat. I mean, that ball too. He hit it well.
Yeah.
Deep left center.
That's the second time he's done that.
Yeah. So if he can cut out the strikeouts, which he's only a freshman, but if he can cut out the strikeouts with his arm from shortstop,
dude, it is ridiculous. The zip across the diamond.
A couple plays he made this past weekend were great, and he's been doing that over the last couple series. And if he can cut the strikeouts out and get more base hits, and he's going to be really fun to watch with Morgan and Cruz going forward.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I definitely think as of right now, he's definitely cut out the strikeouts a little bit and started to hit a little bit more for average. But I agree. I think he's going to be a great player if he can just hit for average. And even if he can't, he's going to play great defense, and he's going to hit you in a full season as a sophomore 10, 15 home runs. Like, he's going to hit some home runs.
Yeah, and Arnold was in tonight against La Tech, which I guess y'all want to talk about this game real quick?
Yeah.
And he made a couple, he didn't do bad, and he had, I think, maybe 3 hits tonight. But
yeah,
he made a couple plays at shortstop that probably should have been made, and Jordan Thompson would have made.
Yeah.
So he's been outstanding for us. But tonight was a lot of runs. It ended in the 7th inning?
Yeah, got called in the 7th
inning. 16-8.
And it was kind of sketchy at first.
Yeah, we were down
4-0 at one point, and then I think 6-2.
Yeah, I think it was Cruz and Morgan bringing us back, getting hits in important spots. They walked some guys. Their relief pitching got a little shaky. They hit some batters, and we took advantage of it. It was nice to see a lot of different guys come in tonight and get hits. It still seems like Maneri's still trying things out in a game that we needed to win against the number 14 team in the country, and we could end up going there now, right? If we can win this weekend, and I think if we can win this weekend, we could probably get in to their regional if they host. So it was a big game. It was an important game, and undefeated in the midweek this year.
Yeah, and that one stat that Wilson Alexander tweeted earlier today about LSU outscoring its opponents just insanely, 104-22 in midweek games. After this game, it would be 120-30. So I'm not going to do the percent, but well, then that's an easy one. 120-30.
And I tweeted
that's 4th.
And I tweeted today that I thought the 22 runs allowed.
Yeah.
The 22 runs allowed was more impressive than the 104 hit, even though 104 hit's pretty damn good as well. The 22, I mean, it's weird that we haven't seen that on the weekend. That translate on the weekend.
That bodes well for us being a region. Like when we get to the regional,
yeah,
I think we'll definitely, even though we'll be a 3 seed, we'll have a solid shot at getting to that championship game. And you get to that championship game, I mean,
Yeah, and
Who
Helmer's
knows from there.
And Helmer struggled a little bit tonight, but he's been good really good throughout the season in that midweek game, and he's been a big part of the success there.
And the midweek games, you only got to win 3. You know.
Yeah.
You can. I mean, not midweek, but in the regionals, if you don't lose a game, you only got to win 3.
Yeah, it's definitely possible
So,
you get placed in a good regional.
All right. Let's kind of clean up. We did our weekend recap. We did our midweek game recap, and now we got to talk about Workbox to help us clean up, and then we'll get to our LSU Alabama preview.
This weekend, I was at a party and there was Workbox porta potties.
It's awesome.
There. They were clean. I tested them out multiple times. Shout out Martine over at Workbox. If you need containers, dumpsters, portable toilets, luxury toilets, anything, you're building a house, you're building an office, you're renovating your house, call Workbox at 225-343-4886. You got to call Martine at Workbox. They're the best in the business, best in Baton Rouge, best in Louisiana. Call Workbox at 225-343-4886.
beautiful.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better.
Speechless.
All right. So this weekend, Alabama, the Crimson Tide comes to the Box for LSU's final SEC series.
Final SEC series at the Box.
At the Box for the year. We desperately, we've said this every week these past couple weeks. We need a sweep. I'm not even going to settle for if we win 2 games or whatever, we still might get in. We need a sweep. Alabama is not even close to the talent that we played this year. LSU was able to come out to against the number 14 team in the country. Granted, Tech didn't look great at all tonight, but and shellac them. It was 16-8. We need a sweep this weekend. It's at the Box. Let's make it special. I'm all in for it.
Yeah, and Bama was a bubble team before, as well. And I think before this past weekend, they were in and we were out. Yeah. They lost, we won. We need to beat them this weekend. Yeah, so, like John said, sweep.
It's kind of like coming down to, so there's like the main guys for the LSU. I mean, not LSU, for the SEC. And then there's 4 bubble teams. It's us, Georgia, Kentucky, Alabama. And it's like Georgia beat Alabama, Kentucky beat Georgia, we beat Kentucky. And then so it's all like mismatched in there. We're all kind of like a hodgepodge. And Alabama's kind of the leader of that pack. They're at 11-12 right now in the SEC. But they got us this weekend, and then next weekend they go to state. So it's definitely tough. We have the easiest schedule out of all those like bubble teams. So for us this weekend, like you said, I mean, a sweep would be absolutely huge. I think you need the unspoken rule is that you need 13 SEC wins to get into the tournament. We're at 9 right now. So I think a win this series, a win next series, and then like maybe we win 1 or 2 games in the SEC tournament, we're in. A sweep this weekend, and we go into next weekend, win 2, win 5 games, we're 100% in. We're all in. I mean, so this weekend is huge, especially at the Box this weekend. And a team like Alabama, who we're fighting with on the bubble, it's going to be huge.
Get to the Box, get rowdy.
100%. And Alabama doesn't really have like the prospects, or like you said, John, they're really not to the caliber of the other teams we played. They've kind of had, whereas we had the tough schedule to begin with, they've kind of had the tough schedule to end. So they have those SEC wins, but I mean, really their only top prospect is Peyton Wilson, their second baseman. He's number 31 prospect out of the college prospects. So, I mean, nothing great pitching wise. They're kind of having some injuries in their pitchers, and this is a perfect time to play Alabama and a perfect time for a sweep.
Let's just do it. Why not? Let's just do it. And to add insult to injury, it's Bama. So that always feels good.
Also, one other thing, and it's, again, back to what you talked about, Alabama has no big series wins. So it's pretty much they've just kind of
Yeah, we have,
trucked on
I
by.
think, number 1 RPI in the country.
Yeah.
Hardest schedule.
We have number 1 hardest schedule.
Yeah. So
Alabama hasn't beaten, like, whereas we've beaten the Ole Miss, Alabama has not beaten a team of that caliber yet. Have not beaten a series against it. So it's going to be a tough series, but I'm excited, and it's definitely one that we need 100% need 2 games, and a sweep. We'd be ready to go to a regional. I think a sweep guarantees a regional. I mean, we'd have to win at least one next weekend, but a sweep, I mean, I think there's no doubt in my mind.
It feels incredibly weird if LSU were to end this season, this final stretch. The fact that we've only swept one SEC series, I believe, was it Kentucky?
No, we didn't even sweep. We haven't swept the series yet.
yeah.
Exactly. So it's like it has to happen. There's no, like, if LSU baseball does not get a sweep, like the world's like not, the polls are going to shift or something.
It also feels weird because, like, usually around this time with LSU baseball, we're still talking about like you need to win this and this, but it's like to
Regional or
regional,
super regional.
Yeah.
Or host.
Yeah, exactly.
Not to get in. Yeah,
Not to get in. It's like, all right, we
top
need,
8 seed.
Exactly.
But in the same way that it's really not that bad to be the villain, it's also not bad to be the underdog.
I mean, no, not at all. You look at a team like, I mean, I'm not comparing us to this team, but Coastal Carolina in 2017, Coastal Carolina in 2017, they didn't host a regional or super regional. They came to LSU and they wiped the floor with us. They shellacked us and led that all the way to Omaha and won it all.
Say the Tigers got shellacked by the Chanticleers 5 times.
Tigers got shellacked by Chanticleers. Tigers got shellacked by Chanticleers.
It's tough. You can't do it. All right, let's get to the House Always Wins segment. The famous House Always Wins segment, presented by, who's it presented by, Rory?
It's presented by the House Bar in Tigerland. Come see me this week, Thursday and Saturday night. I'll be in there 10 to 2. Come say what's up. Come to the DJ booth. Yeah,
request whatever song.
I'll be pumping the tunes. Shout out. Saw James and Stinson last weekend. Saw former Out the Box kind of co-host Steph. Saw him. He was eating a pizza in the DJ booth. But no, come out. House Bar in Tigerland. Just come home. Come see us at the house. Open every day of the week, I'm pretty sure. If not, you can check it out on their Instagram at House in Tigerland or on Twitter at Tigerland House, Facebook and Instagram House in Tigerland. All right, John.
All right. So last week I had a horrible beat. I picked the over in a MLB midweek baseball game. Thought it was a lock. Generally, I have a rule when I'm betting MLB baseball that if the under is anything under 7 runs, it was 6.5 in this game. It was the Padres and the Pirates. Granted, Darvish was pitching, and I forget who the other pitcher was, but the total run score in the game was 6. So I can't think of a tougher beat than that, but I'm coming back this week. I haven't been giving the fans I haven't been giving them all. I haven't been giving them the quality of the picks. I feel like this one's going to be quality. UFC 262 this weekend. I'm going with the main event. It's kind of what's the opposite of a heat check? A cold snap. I'm taking a cold snap.
I guess.
Olivia.
Maybe like a layup.
A layup. Yeah, it's like in horse. If you can't make anything, you go make a layup, then you can make whatever you want. That's not how it works. But the main event, Oliveira versus Chandler. I'm just taking Oliveira straight up -140. The odds aren't that great. I also do like the over 2.5 rounds in the Ferguson versus Dariush fight, but my official pick is Oliveira -140.
So not that much going on this weekend. We got the Preakness, I think, if you're a horse guy, but I am going back to golf. I'm going with Jordan Spieth after a couple weeks off, playing in Texas at the Byron Nelson. I got him top 20 minus 150. I know the odds aren't good, but it's Jordan Spieth in Texas. He knows the course. He probably will win this week.
I like that. I'm gonna look for it. This last week I had Juventus. They lost. I had Juventus draw no bet. They lost 2-1 to Chelsea. Should have known not to bet against the American. This week I have to give a shout out to a good friend of the Out the Box podcast.
Podcast.
The podcast. Jack Junes Wilson gave me a pick on Sunday, said White Sox don't lose versus lefties. I said, oh, really, Jack? He said, White Sox don't lose against lefties. All right. I said, all right. Sunday, you can guess what happened. White Sox faced the lefty. They didn't lose. So I'm back again, beating the same drum. Tomorrow night or tonight when you're listening to this, Wednesday night, White Sox against the Twins. Money line, White Sox money line, minus 134. Twins pitching J.A. Happ, a lefty, beating the same drum. White Sox versus a lefty, take it to the bank. Shout out Junes.
All right. And I think that about wraps up the House Always Wins segment and our show. Thank you guys so much for listening. Summer is here. We have some power moves rolling up. Rory just finished up school. Luffy's taking his test, but the weather's getting better. I promise. I know it's raining right now, and we could not be looking more forward to this summer. Thank you to all of our sponsors, Rally Cap Brewing, Blaine Loop with Keller Williams Realty, the House Bar in Tigerland, and Workbox LLC. And also shout out to the home of the Out the Box podcast, the Boot Crew Media Network. We are the featured podcast for May. May is our month, and I'm thinking about it with summer coming. With summer's here. Summer's here. I'm thinking about releasing another mixtape alongside it being, maybe in the month of the Out the Box podcast.
I have a suggestion. I think you should wait until the regional. If we make the regional, that's mixtape drop week, just to get the fans hype.
So should we hit up some LSU players and be like, hey, look, it's kind of like Drake dropping stuff. Like, people are looking forward to it and they're motivated to do other things to help that actually come true.
Maybe not players,
like, but I know Beloso,
but like people going to the game.
I know
hit Beloso. Up people going to the game so they scream louder. I don't want to distract players with you potentially rapping, but
what if that was one of their walk-up songs.